Section 3.1, Lines and Angles. Parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. The double straight line symbol here means parallel to. So when we name that two lines are parallel, we'll put the names of the two lines, and in between them we'll put this symbol to indicate that they're parallel. So in this first example, we want to find two pairs of parallel lines from this diagram. Parallel just means that they do not intersect. So two lines that I can see right off the bat would be QX and PW. So I'm going to say that QX and PW are parallel. They do not cross. Two additional lines. Let's choose two that are going maybe instead of horizontal, let's try vertical lines. So PS and QR. So PS is parallel to QR. Skew lines are non-coplanar, they are not parallel, and they do not intersect. So skew lines have two requirements. They cannot be parallel, but they also do not intersect. So generally what this means is they're going in opposite directions or kind of traveling in opposite paths, but they're doing so at like different heights. So an example of skew lines, let's say we're dealing with PW. We want another line that is skew to this. So instead of dealing with any of the four lines in the same plane as it, I'll move to a different plane. And generally, it looks like I would intersect it, but I'm actually below it. So I'm going to choose SR. So I can say that PW and SR are skew. I can find another set of skew lines. Let's say this time I choose RY. Well, I want to make sure I'm not parallel to RY, but I also do not want to intersect RY. So maybe I'll use PQ. So I know that RY and PQ are skew. We want to use the diagram to name each of the following. So here we want a pair of parallel planes. Well, parallel planes means they don't cross. And I just want a pair. So the easiest pair that I can find would be the top face and the bottom face of this rectangular prism. So I'm going to say plane, let's say SQR is parallel to plane WUV. Alright, and there's others that we can name, but I'm just going to choose those two for now. We want to name all the lines parallel to RV. Well, RV is here. So parallel to it, first one I notice is going to be TX. I can also say QU. And then SW. We want to find four lines that are skew to WX. So WX is here. And we want to be skewed to it. Well, SQ and TR are skewed to WX, so we can say SQ. They don't cross it, but they're also not parallel to it. TR is also one. Moving in a different direction, we could also say that QU and RV are also skewed to it. They're not parallel to it, but they don't cross it because they sit in a farther back plane. So QU and RV. Part D, all lines that are parallel to plane QUVR. So QUVR is the back face there. We want all lines that are parallel to that plane. Well, basically, if that's the plane we're talking about, all of the lines that would be parallel to it are lines that would make up the plane parallel to that back plane. So if we're dealing with this plane here, the plane that's parallel to it, or the face, would be STXW. So we want all of those particular lines. So SW, we've got WX, we've got XT, and we've got ST. Last question, a plane parallel to plane QUWS. So QUWS is the left side face here. So parallel to that, we'd be looking at the other end, TRBX. A transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. The diagram below shows 8 angles created by transversal T and lines L and M. When talking about a transversal, so transversal T, it cuts through two lines L and M. Any angles created between the two lines are considered to be in the interior. The angles outside of one of the lines, so in this case angles 1 and 2, or 8 and 7, are called the exterior angles. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So opposite sides of the transversal, so keep in mind T is our transversal here. So that means our alternate interior would be 4 and 6, or in this case 5 and 3. They're on opposite sides and they're in the interior, alternate interior angles. Same side interior angles are interior angles that lie on the same side of the transversal. So here we've got our transversal T again, and same side interior, you're looking at 4 and 5, or you're looking at 3 and 6. Corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal, T, and in corresponding positions. So this is our transversal again. Corresponding kind of means like they're lined up in the same general location. So like 1 and 5 are both in the top left of their 4-angle grouping. 2 and 6 are in the top right of their 4-angle grouping. And then we've got 4 and 8 and 3 and 7. These are corresponding angles. Alternate exterior angles are non-adjacent exterior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So once again, T's are transversal, but we're talking about exterior. So alternate exterior would be like 1 and 7. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, but they're on the outside, or 2 and 8. Here we want to decide whether each pair of angles is alternate exterior or alternate interior, same side interior, or corresponding or alternate exterior angles. So looking at the first one here, this line represents my transversal. My 2 angles are on the outside, so I'm automatically dealing with exterior, and they're on opposite sides. So for 1, we're dealing with alternate exterior angles. For 2, I've got my transversal. My 2 angles are inside, or the interior, and they're on opposite sides. So this is alternate interior angles. For 3, my transversal, I notice that both of my angles are located in the bottom right of the 4-angle grouping, so these are corresponding. And then last but not least here, we've got our transversal in 4. The 2 angles are inside and on the same side of the transversal, so these are same side interior angles. Here you have 7 particular items you're looking for. You want to name 1 pair of each, segment, planes, or angles, to answer each of the questions. So name 1 pair of each, segments, planes, or angles for each of the given items. So if you're talking about parallel segments, skew segments, planes, or angles, you're going to give me 1 pair of each. And so this is the lesson check. So go ahead and pause the video, try to answer the 7, and then unpause it to see how you did. I'm going to have 1 answer, so you may have a different set, or I'll try to list as many options as I can. So for questions 1, 2, and 3, I just gave 1 example, but there are multiple answers. So my example for 1, I said HD is parallel to GC for parallel segments. There are lots of other options here. Skew segments, I said HD and EF. But once again, there are lots of other options here. And same thing for parallel planes. I said EADH and FBCG. But there are multiple answers here, so there's a lot of variation there. For answer 4, your alternate interior angles, you could have used 8 and 6 or 3 and 2. For same side interior, you could have used 3 and 8 or 2 and 6. For corresponding, you've got 5 and 8, 1 and 3, 7 and 6, or 2 and 4. And then for alternate exterior angles, you've got 5 and 7, or 4 and 1.